What's up guys, welcome back to Code My Hobby, and in this tutorial we're going to be making the Hulu clone completely from scratch using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Now this tutorial has been promised for a while, and yes, I'm finally done and I'm finally back on YouTube, so expect more tutorials like this. Now we're going to be building this Hulu clone completely from scratch using HTML, CSS and JavaScript, and this project is completely responsive. So before going any further, I'd like you to do just one thing that would make this video top notch. Okay, so make sure you hit the like button. Just go scroll down and hit the like button, and if you're new around here, make sure you subscribe, because I produce daily videos based around programming with HTML, CSS and JavaScript, and trust me, you're going to enjoy the tutorials. So as a bonus tip for you, the source code to this project is going to be in the description below, so you can check the description for my GitHub repository and download the source code, and you'll also be getting the images in my source code, so do make sure you check the description. And like I said, this project is completely responsive, and also we're going to be hosting this project after building it. So this is the Hulu clone on my desktop, on my laptop rather, and let's check online the hosted version. After hosting, you can see the URL. It says movies-2-site.netlify.app. So we're going to be using Netlify to host this project. So you can see it's already online, it has been deployed, so you can share the link with your friends. Obviously you're going to create your own link, you're going to create your own project, and you can show it off to your friends. And yeah, that will be all for this intro. So without wasting much of your time, let's jump right into our VS Code. So now we're in our VS Code, and the first thing you want to do is to make sure you have the files that you will need, because these files includes the images and the fav icon we'll be using for this Hulu clone tutorial. So make sure you click the link in the description to get the source code, and in the source code you'll be directed to the GitHub link, the GitHub repository, where you can download all these images. Yeah, so without further ado, let's jump right into our VS Code. And the first thing we're going to do is to create a header tag, and in this header tag we're going to have a div. But before doing that, let's give this header tag a class of header, and in this header tag we're going to have a div with a class of header content. And over here we're going to have our h4 saying try up to 1 month free. And the next thing we're going to do is to use the Hulu logo. So we're going to import the logo from our image. So we're going to say logo.png. okay, and if the image is not displaying, we want the alternate to be saying Hulu, yeah, and we're going to give this a class of logo. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is to generate two more divs. So the first div is going to have a class of header text 1, and in this we're going to say watch thousands don't know why I'm typing like this. Thousands of TV shows and movies. Okay, full stop, and we're going to create a new div with a class of header text 2. And in this header text 2, we're just going to grab the text that is in the Hulu website itself. So I'm going to go over to Hulu website and grab the text right now. So as you know, from this tutorial is supposed to come out since, and of course I told you earlier that Hulu has made some modifications to their website, so we might not use this and we'll be using the clone I made instead. So I'm just going to be copying this text here, so Ctrl C, and I'm going to paste this in. So I'm going to copy this here, so Ctrl C, and I'm going to paste inside this folder. I'm going to paste it here inside this div rather. Okay, so now the next thing I want to do is to create a button. So say big button, generate the button class, and we're going to give this a class of btn c-cta, and over here is going to say start your free trial. So I think the best thing to do is to get the text from the clone instead of stressing out. Okay, so now the next text we want to grab is this. So Ctrl C. So I'm just going to make this capital letter. Okay, so now the next div, I'm going to create a new div, and this is going to say it's going to have a class of legal text, and we're going to paste what we just copied. No, we're going to paste this text that we just copied. So Ctrl C, and you paste right here. So I'm just going to align this properly. Okay, so we can save this, and we're going to go to live server, and so you can see what we have here. You can see the logo, the button that we generated, and the text that we copied. So now let's go to our CSS and style this header. Okay, so we're in our CSS, and the first thing we want to do is to get the font we'll be using. So go over to Google Fonts and look for the font Rubik, and you're going to select the light font. So you're just going to click on this button right here to add. Yeah, so it's going to say select style. So click on this 300, light 300. And you're also going to click on this regular 400, and the last one is going to be this bold 700. So yeah, click on that and make sure you select import. At import, I'm going to copy this text and paste it in our CSS so you can get rid of this. So go over to your CSS and paste. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is to use our global selector, and we want to give this a box sizing or border box, and we're going to set the margin to 0 and also the padding to 0. So save this. Now the next thing we're going to target is the HTML and the body. So we're going to give this a font family of Rubik or sans serif, and we're going to set the background of this to black, and we're going to make the color, text color, to be white. Also, we're going to give this a line height of 1.7 and an overflow of the X direction. We want this to be hidden. So save this. So now the next thing we want to target, okay, let's check. Next thing we want to target is going to be, I think, the image. So go over to your CSS, okay, and let's select the image, and we want this to have a width of 100%. Okay, so I think, let's check again. Okay, we have H4 here, so we're going to select the H4 and we're going to give this a color of, let's say, something like white smoke. So ASH00ED82. Okay, yeah, so it's like a light shade of green, and we're going to make this in a very small font. So set the font size to 13 pixels, and the text transform, we want this to be in uppercase, so set the text transform to uppercase. Okay, so I also think we have a button class here, so copy this. Okay, so now we're going to select the btn, and we're going to give this a display of inline block. We need to give this a background color of white. Set the color, the text color, to be ash. Let's give this a mean width of 135 pixels. Also, we're going to give this some padding of, let's say, 20 pixels by 32 pixels. So we're going to set the font size of this to be 15. Let's use 15 pixels, and we want this to be a bit bold, so the font width should be 600. And let's give this a line height of 16, or let's use 14 pixels. We want to get rid of the borders, so set the border to none, and we're going to add a border radius to this, border radius of 5 pixels, just a bit of a curve, and we want to give it some letter spacing of 1 pixel. Next thing to do is to make the cursor. We want to make this the pointer, and we want to make this in uppercase. So as usual, you set your text transform to uppercase and save. Okay, so now the next thing we want to do is to grab the btn CTA. So copy this class and paste just beneath the btn class, or below the btn class, whichever works. So we're going to set the opacity of this to 0.8, and we're going to make this on hover. So save this and let's see what we've done so far. Okay, so you can see the text, the image, and the button. Okay, so you can see the border radius added to the button, and you can see the hover effect on this. Okay, so now let's jump back to our CSS. Okay, so now that we've done kind of like the global CSS, now let's target the header. So select the header, and we're going to copy the header class. So go over here, copy this class, paste right here, and the first thing we're going to do is to set the height of this to 530 pixels, and we're going to set the background to let's grab a URL, let's use an image, and the image we're going to use is the header image, and we want to wrap this in column. Okay, and we want to make this no repeat, and we want to make this to be centered, because a center slash cover, so it occupies the whole space. So you can save this and see what we have. So you can see what we have here. You can see the image, so it's already come into place. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is to target, let's see, the header content. So I'm just going to copy this class, header content class, copy, and I'm going to paste it right here. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is to make this display flex, and flex direction should be column, and justify content. Also justify content. Flex start. I want to align items to the center, and also give this a margin top of 30 pixels. So save this, and let's see what we have. Okay, so you can see we're having something really nice here. Okay. Yeah, so now the next thing we're going to target is, I think we should target the header text 1. So go over here and copy this, and we're going to say header text 1, and we want to give this a font size of 22 pixels, and the font width should be bold. So save. Now we're going to select the header text 2, so copy this and change it to 2, and also we're going to make the font size of this to be 18 pixels, and the font width, font width is okay. Let's set the margin, let's give this a margin of 25 pixels to 0 pixels. So save this, and lastly we want to grab the header and set this to the after using pseudo element. So we're going to set the content of this to be an empty column. I'm going to set the position to absolute, give this a top of 0. It's also going to have a left of 0. I'm going to see the result of this real quick. Let's give this a width of 100%, a height of 180 pixels should do. Next thing we're going to do is to give this a Z index of 1, and a linear background gradients so I'm going to say linear gradient, and this is going to be 180 degrees. And it's going to be RGBA 0,0,0 0.76, and this is going to be 15 point, let's say 54%. So I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to edit for the next two RGBAs. Copy and paste. Okay, so this is going to be so this is going to be 0.192, and the percentage of this is going to be 60.23, and this is going to be 0.08E-5, and this is going to be 100%. So save this, and you should see we have something nice here. Okay, so now let's compare this to the original project, see what we're doing. I'm just going to bring out the original project. Okay, so for the original project, you can see the little nav we have here with the login detail right here. So I think we should work on that next, and also try reducing the font size of this. Okay, so I think, yeah, the reason why this is so big is because we didn't style this. So go to the HTML, and you obviously want to copy the class, and head over to your CSS, and let's go to this section, and we're going to say that header the logo. Let's grab the logo, and we're going to give this a width of 270 pixels, and we're going to give this a margin of 20 pixels by 0 pixels. So save this and let's check. Okay, so now we have something nice. Now the next thing that is left for us to do is to work on this little nav section we have here. So head over to your HTML, and we're going to design a little nav containing the login button. Okay, so let's think we should create this in the header tag here. So we're going to create a nav tag, and in this nav tag we're going to have our UL, and in the UL we'll have our LI, and in this LI we're going to have our button, and we're just going to give this button a class of login btn, and this is just going to say login. So save, and we're going to head over to CSS, and in our CSS let's scroll to the global CSS styles, and I think we should add a global style for the UL. So let's add this somewhere here, and we're going to say UL, and the list style should be, or let's make a list style types should be none. Okay, so yeah, that should be all. Now head over to your header, and over here, let's say here is good. I'm going to have a header, and let's grab the nav. I'm going to give this a display. I'm going to use Flexbox for this, so display of flex, and justify content flex end, And next thing we're going to do is to add some padding to this of 20 pixels by 40 pixels. Next thing we're going to do is to add a z-index of 2, and also we want to make sure you give this a position of relative. So save. Now the next one we're going to target is the login button. So make sure you copy this class to Ctrl C, and we're just going to go below this and say header nav, and in this nav we're going to grab the login btn. So give this a class of login btn. Yes, okay. So definitely we want this to be a pointer, so we're going to say cursor should be pointer. And next thing we're going to do is to give this a background of none, because we want the image to be the background of the whole thing. So next thing we're going to do is to get rid of all the borders. So set the border to none. And okay, now we want to add a color to this. Let's give this a color of white. Also, let's give this a font width. Let's make this bold, and we want this to be in uppercase, so set the text transform to uppercase, and the letter spacing should be 1 pixel. So save this and head over to your browser. And yes, so we have the header in place. You can see it looks really nice, and compared to this, you can see it's so similar. Okay, so there are some differences. You can see over here, this isn't so bold, whereas in this it's more bold. Okay, and another thing is this text is really small, while in ours it's really big and doesn't have much padding. So we can fix that real quick. So head over to CSS and let's check for any errors. Okay, so let's head over to HTML, and I noticed we didn't grab the legal text, so we're going to copy this and going to go over to the global styles, and let's just paste this right here. Let's style this real quick, and we want to give this a font size of 10 pixels. And next thing we want to do is to change the color of this to like white smoke, and also give this a margin top of 20 pixels. So let's save this and see what we have. Okay, so now it's looking better. So next thing we want to adjust is this, and let's see if there's any more we need to adjust. No, just this text right here. So let's head over to our HTML, and you can see this is an H4. Okay, so let's see if there are any errors there. So I think I'm just going to add a font width. Let's try to reduce the font width and make this 400. So save. No. Ctrl S. Okay, yeah, save. And let's check back, and you can see. Okay, so now you can see we have something similar. And let's change this back to 500. Okay, so yeah, now we can continue with other sections. Okay, so now let's check the new section we have to build, the other sections we have to build. So I'm just going to check on the project. Okay, so we have like subheader around here, and the other section we have to build is this section right here, and this, then lastly this. So okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is to build this subsection right here, or subheader. So go over to your HTML and we're going to create a new section. So okay, go right here and you're going to create a section, and we're going to give this section a class of subheader, and over here we're going to import some images, or just one image. I'm just going to use one image here. Okay, so let's grab the image. The name of the image is going to be logo.png, and we're going to create a div, and over here we're just going to copy the text from this. Yeah, so we're just going to copy this text. So create your h4 and paste the text in, and we're going to create a h3, and we're going to copy this other text. So copy this and paste in your h3. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is to create a link, a hyperlink. So this isn't going to be going anywhere, and we're going to call this details, and let's give this hyperlink a class of sublink. Let's see. And now the next thing we're going to do is to create a new div, and over here we're going to have two anchor tags, and they won't be going anywhere for now. So you can give this a class of btn outline, and this is, we're going to copy the text from over here where it says get bundle. Okay, I don't think you can copy the text. I'm going to say get bundle, and over here we're going to have another anchor tag and give this a class of sublink also, and this is going to say terms and conditions, or terms apply. So save, and let's head over to our CSS and style this. So now the first thing I just want to quickly style is this btn outline. So copy this, and we're going to style this right here, just beneath this btn. So we're going to give this a background color of none. I'm going to get rid of the background color and keep the text color white. And lastly, we're going to give this a border of 2 pixels solid white. So save, and yeah, you can see the image right here, and you can see the button which we just styled. Okay, so let's just compare just to see if we haven't lost track. Okay, no. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to add a hover effect for this btn outline. So keep this hover, and this is going to have change in opacity. This is going to be 0.8. So save, and yeah, that should be all for the btn outline. So now we can style this section. So go right here and you're just going to create a comment, and this is going to be sub header. Now, first thing we're going to do is to grab the actual class subheader. So make sure you copy this correctly and go over here and paste. Okay, so we're going to give this a display of grid. Display grid, and this is going to have a grid template column of 2fr, 2fr, 2fr. Oh, no, this should be 4. So if you would like to understand how Grid-System works, you can get my course currently on sales, and I think I would have another sale or another discount real soon. So you can grab it now, or you can decide to wait. Anyone that suits you. So now we're going to give this a gap of 40 pixels, and we're going to align items to the center, and we're going to give this a padding of 30 pixels by 40 pixels. Next thing we're going to do is to give this a background gradient. It's going to have a linear gradient. So we're going to say 318 polygons. Let's say 6, 7, or 6, 8 degrees. You can actually play with this to select the right color, and this is going to be ash 0f495c, and this is going to be 0%. Next color is going to be ash 0d3640, and this is going to be 49.7 degrees. And lastly, we have ash 08141f, and this is going to be 100 degrees. So you can save this, and let's see what we just did. Okay, so you can see the color right here. So now the next thing we're going to do is to select the div of the last type. So how do we do that? We grab the subheader and say div last of type, and we're just going to justify self to the end, and we're going to align self to the center, and now we're going to select the sublink. So I'm just going to copy this, and say sub link. Now I'm going to say text line to the center. So let's save this, and let's see. Okay, so next thing we want to do is to make sure we change these to white. So we're going to, okay, we made a mistake here. This is going to be logos.png, not logo.png. So yeah, you should see, yes, it's logos.png. Now for this sublink, we're going to style this. So copy and head over to your CSS, and let's just scroll up right here and paste it Now I want to reduce the font size of this to 10 pixels. Give this a color of white smoke, and give this a margin top of 20 pixels. Okay, so I'm just going to compare this to the actual project. Okay, so you can see where this button is, so we're going to try to push this. Okay, let's just make a quick comparison. Yeah, we're going to try to push this button. We're going to push it over here. So let's scroll down to check if there are any errors. I'm just going to check this real quick. Okay, so I think the error should be from the sublink. Okay, so let's make this display block and reduce this margin. Actually, it's going to be margin top. I'm going to make this 5 pixels, and let's just increase the width, the font size of this. And lastly, we're going to give this a text decoration of underline. So save, and we should have it fixed. So I guess the next thing we're going to do is to get rid of this underline right here. So just go over here, and we're going to say, let's select the anchor tag, and we're going to give this a color of white, and we're going to set the text decoration to none. Also, let's add a hover effect on this, and hover is going to turn to white smoke. So let's say #CCC. So save, and yeah, that should fix. Okay, so now we have this looking nice comparing to the actual project. Okay, so you can see the font over here is kind of different. So let's fix this. Let's get rid of this font width and make it 400, and this should be, let's say, 15 pixels. Go ahead and save. Still has no effect. Okay, so I'm just going to check. That's H3. Okay, I don't think we gave. Okay, let's select the H3 and give this a font size of 26 pixels. And the font width of 300. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is to style this section, to design this section. So head over to your HTML, and I'm just going to, let's try to make our work organized. So I'm just going to give this a comment here, and it's going to say sub header, and the next section I'm going to create is the category section. I'm going to create another complement, or yeah, and this is going to say categories. Okay, so we're going to create a new section with a class of categories. And we're going to select the H4, and I'm just going to copy the text from the actual project. So copy this text right here and paste. Next thing to do is to create a div in the class of text XL, because the text is actually large. So like this text right here, so it says all the TV you love, so copy that text and paste over here. And we're going to create a new div, and this is going to say sub text, and I'm going to copy the text we have here. So copy this carefully and paste over here. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to work on are these images right here. So we're going to create a new div, and this div is going to have a class of covers, and the first div is going to have a class of cover1, and over here we're going to have a cover grid. So let's just take a look at this and analyze it. So you can see the images kind of have like a gradient covering the actual image here. So the actual images are more bright or brighter than these, so we're going to cover these with something like a gradient. So it should be grad, yeah. And I'm going to close this. I'm going to create a new div, a class of cover text, and in this cover text we're going to have the actual text in it. So this is going to say div.subtitle, and here we're just going to go over to the actual project and copy the text that was used. So copy this, so Ctrl C, and I'm going to paste right here. Okay, I'm just going to close this up. Now the next thing we're going to do is to create a H3, and this is going to say TV shows. Okay, so yeah, that's how we're going to do for the 4 images. So you can copy this and paste over here, and this is going to be cover 2, and we're just going to copy the text for the second image. So this is new and classics, so make sure you copy this and you're going to paste over here. Next thing we're going to do is to copy this. It says movies, so copy, and you're going to paste this also right here. Now I'm just going to duplicate this cover, so paste right here, and oops, so copy this again and sorry, copy this again and paste over here. And so this is going to be cover 3 and this is going to be cover 4. So we're just going to copy the text real quick and paste it back. So copy and paste. I think this is Hulu Originals and Premium. So just going to type that out. So go over here. This says Hulu Originals and this is Premium. So save this and let's check what we have. Make sure you always save and it should refresh for you. Okay, so you can see the text we have here. So go over to your CSS. Okay, so scroll down right here and we're just going to leave a comment, and this is going to say categories. Okay, so we're going to select the categories class. So go over to your HTML and copy the class and paste it back in your CSS. I'm just going to copy this and you're going to paste over here. Yeah, okay, so we're going to set the display of this to flex. I'm going to use Flexbox for this and the flex direction. So I'm just going to copy this class right here. So copy this and we're going to paste right here. Okay, so now we want to use Flexbox for this. So we're going to give this a display of Flexbox, a display of flex rather, and the flex direction of column, and also want to align items to the center. Next thing we want to do is to justify contents to the center also, and let's give this a text align to the center. And lastly, we want to give this some padding of 90 pixels by 40 pixels. Okay, so now next thing we want to deal with is the covers div. So copy this class and you're going to paste right here. So just go below this. So you're going to select categories and the covers. Okay, so this is going to have, we're going to use grid for this. So display grid and grid template columns. We have 4 images, so we're going to say repeat 4,1 fr, and we're going to give this a gap of 20 pixels, and lastly we're going to give this a margin top of 40 pixels. So save this. Save this and we can check our browser to see what we've done. Okay, so you can see with grid we've been able to properly align these 4 contents right here, and we're going to have an image for each of these covers. We're going to have an image for each of them, and you can see with the help of the gap we've been able to give some space around each content right here for the TV shows, the movies, Hulu Originals and the Premium. So yeah, okay, so next thing we want to grab is the div itself. So say categories of covers, and we want to grab the div. So we're going to give this, I'm just going to get rid of this. Okay, so we're going to give this a height of, let's say, 500 pixels, and a width of 300 pixels, and we're going to give this a position of relative. Yeah, so you can save this. Okay, so now the next one we're going to grab is the cover grad. So copy this and go over here, and we're going to say categories dot cover grad, and we're going to give this a position of absolute, a top of 0, the left also should be 0, a width of 100%, a height of 100% also. We're going to give this background linear gradient, so linear gradient, and this is going to be 156.80 degrees. So you can mess around with the numbers, anyone that suits you. Yeah. So this is going to be RGBA, and you want to select a color that blends with the Hulu theme. So this should be 0.6, and this should be, let's say, 4.58%. And the next one, RGBA, is going to be 0.0.0.0, and this is going to be 69, let's say 69.15%. Okay, and there's still a little buzz here, so I'm just going to check. Oh, I'm supposed to have a semicolon right here. Okay, so that's done. Now the next thing we're going to do is to set, oh, we're not completely done. We're going to set another linear gradient right here. So we're going to give this a comma, or you can close this in a bracket and give it a comma, and we're going to add another linear gradient. Okay, so you can go over here, and I'm just going to close this bracket up like this. Okay, so we're going to have 24.5 degrees, comma, RGBA 0.0.0.2, and this is going to be 4.715 degrees, or percent rather. And let's just make it 4.72%. Okay, and this is going to be RGBA 0.0.0, and this is going to be 71 point let's say 71.49. so if this is 71.49, this is going to be 61.61, and also this would be, okay, you can leave this as it is right here. Okay, so save. You can mess around with the numbers and you'd see which one you actually prefer. So those are the ones I'm going to be going with. So now the next thing we're going to do is to select the cover text. So copy this, and I'm going to select cover text. I'm going to give this a position of absolute, and we're going to give this a top a top of 20 pixels. Okay, top 20 pixels. This is going to have a left of 20 pixels also. A text line to the left. Okay, so now we can finally assign images to each of the covers. So select your categories div, and we're going to go with cover 1 first. So copy this cover 1 and paste right here, and this is going to have a background, and we're going to select the image URL, and this is going to be, I think this is in our images folder here. It's not in any folder, so we don't need to go through a lot of stress. We're just going to select cover1.jpg, and this isn't going to repeat, so we're going to say no repeat, and this is going to be at the center. Ctrl C. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so now we can duplicate this. And this is going to be cover 2. This will be 3. And lastly, this should be 4. I'm just going to change the images. Show cover 2, cover 3, and cover 4. So save this and let's see what we have. Okay, for some reasons the images are not appearing, and you can see this text isn't so bold yet. Okay, so let's just try to fix this real quick. So I think we made a mistake right here. It should be cover. This also should be cover. This should be cover also. And lastly, this should be cover. So save this, and hopefully that should fix the error we're having. Okay, so yeah, now you can see the text and the images. So now the next thing we need to fix is this big text. You can compare it with the original project. You can see the big bold text compared to this. The images are properly aligned though, but just the text that we need to make them bold. So head over to your HTML, and yeah, let's see what we have to do. So we need to make this text XL big, and also this subtext we need to make it big. So yeah. So I'm just going to scroll up, and this is going to be like a general style. So I'm just going to go below this, and I'm going to select let's start with the text XL, and I'm going to increase the font size of this to, I think 70 pixels should do, and also we're going to give this a font width of bold. So save. And now the next thing we're going to do is to style the subtext. So copy this. Don't mind this, cancel. Okay. Okay. No, we grabbed the wrong thing. So copy this and paste it right here. Okay. So now the next thing we're going to do is to give this a maximum width. of, let's say, 850 pixels, and the margin bottom of 10 pixels, and we want to increase the font size of this, obviously. So let's give this 24 pixels. So save this, and we should be done with the category section. Yeah. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is to design this banner right here and this also. So now let's focus on this banner right here. So you can analyze it with me. You can see we have a big border around this. We have some text, and we're going to align this text to the center. This is a hyperlink, and we have a little text right here. So this shouldn't be hard. So first thing to do is to write out the code. Go to your HTML, and we're going to create some comments right here saying this should be saying live. Yeah, so this will be live. Okay, so we're going to create a section with a class of live, and we're going to have a div with a class of live border, and over here we're going to have a h4, and we're just going to copy what the text says. So it says Hulu plus live, so copy this, and we're going to have another div of text XL, and you can remember we just created a class text XL that we designed in our CSS, that was styled rather in our CSS. So I'm just going to copy the text right here and paste it over here. Okay, so next thing to do is to create a div with a class of sub. A div with a class of subtext, and I'm going to copy the text again. So I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to break this up. Okay, so now we're also going to create a div for the little text. So this is going to say legal text, and I'm going to copy what we have here. Lastly, we have our anchor tag, and I'm just going to copy what we have here. View channels in your area. This shouldn't go anywhere, so this is going to be hash, and you can paste what you have here. So that's basically the HTML for the live section, and we're just going to go over here and leave a comment saying live plus Hulu. So save. Okay, so first thing we want to do is to grab the background. So say live and set the background color of this rather. So let's give this a background. It has like a dark background, so that color should be ash 151516. And we're going to set the padding for this to be 40 pixels. Okay, so the next thing we're going to grab is a live border. So copy this class and paste right here. Give this a border of 4 pixels solid. You know the green border it has. Yeah, So there's going to be #1 CE783, and we're going to give this border radius of 16 pixels should do. Let's set the padding of this to 100 pixels, and this should have a display of flex and the flex direction column. Now we want to align items to the center and justify content. So that should be justify content. Justify content to the center, and we also want to set the text alignment of this to the center. Okay, so let's grab the little anchor tag we have here. Live. And we're going to set the text transform of this. We want to make it uppercase, and let's give this a font size of 18 pixels. A margin top of 20 pixels, and we want this to be underlined, so say text decoration underline. So save this, and you should see we're done with that. Okay, so now you can see the border around this, you can see the effect of the padding, you can see the anchor tag with the underline, the line under the text rather. And yeah, so now the next thing we're going to work on is this little banner right here saying live sports, and then we're going to move on to the border. After the border, we're going to work on responsiveness, and then we're finally going to work on this pop-up button using JavaScript. So yeah, head over to your HTML now, and I'm just going to write a comment under this section, and this is going to say live sports. So save this. Okay, so we're going to create a section. I'm just going to scroll down a bit. So say section live, give this a class of live sports. Now the next thing we're going to do is to create a div, and we're going to give this a class of live sports content, and in this content we're going to have a div with a class of text XL, and I'm just going to copy the text is live sports to paste right here, and also I'm going to create a div for the subtext, and I'm going to copy what we have right here and paste it. Okay, so now the next thing I want to do is to work on the images under the text, these images, and lastly this little text right here. So I'm just going to create a div and import the images. So div, let's give this a class of live sports logos, and I'm going to create a div right here for the first image, and the name of this image should be live sports logo 1, and I'm just going to duplicate this 3 times, and this should be logo 2, logo 3, and finally logo 4. Okay, so now we can work on the little Lego text. So create a div for this. So you say div, and we're going to give this a class of Lego text, and I'm just going to copy the text from the original project. So copy the text right here and paste over here and save. So yes, we're done with this. So let's go to CSS and style this. So the first one we're going to style is the class live sports itself. So I'm just going to copy this class, head over to CSS and leave a comment right here saying live sports, and I'm going to paste the class right here. And first thing I want to do is to give this a background color, a background image rather. So say background URL, and the name of this image is live sports. Okay, so we're going to set this to no repeat, center, and we want it to cover the whole thing. Okay, also I'm going to set the height of this to be 800 pixels, and let's give this a position of relative. Okay, so you can see the images are so big. That's what we're going to work on now. Okay, so head over to HTML and copy this class. So copy this and paste it right here. And we're going to set the position of this to be absolute. I'm going to give this a top of 160 pixels, a left of 100 pixels, and a maximum width of 550 pixels. So now the next one we're going to grab is the logos. Okay, so go over here and paste this, and we're going to give this a width of 300 pixels. Let's give this a margin top of, let's say, 40 pixels. Let's give this a display of flex, and the line items to the center. Lastly, you want to just give space between the content, so justify content space between. So save this. Okay, so now we want to select each individual div. So select live sports logo, and you want to select each of the divs. So we're going to give this a background. We can set the background to an image, and that's going to be network logo, no repeat, center, and we want this to cover the whole thing. So this is going to have a height of 60 pixels. Let's give this a width also of 60 pixels. I'm going to give this a display of flex, align items to the center, and justify contents to the center. Lastly, I'm going to select the images itself, img, and I'm going to give this a width of 40 pixels. Okay, so now, so I think there's a problem with this image. And there's a problem with that image. I'm just going to check and fix it real quick. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is to design the footer, and lastly we're going to make it responsive. So head over to your HTML and just go right here and comment footer. So let's analyze the footer before we start writing the code. So you can see we have like 4 different, one, two, three, four, five columns. We have this little line right here, and we have the Facebook logo, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram logo. Okay, so yeah, so we've analyzed it, and now we can finally write the code in our HTML. So first thing we're going to do obviously is to give this footer tag, and in this footer tag we're going to give this a class of footer. So the next thing we're going to do is to create a div called footer content, and now we're going to create a new div called footer list. This is going to hold all the lists. So I'm going to create a UL which is going to hold some LIs, and I'm just going to give this a class of list head, and this is going to say, I think this says browse, and definitely has some content under it. So let's create the li, and those contents are actually anchor tags, they're not just normal text. So this should be, let's just copy the text, streaming library, so paste right here. Next one is live TV. Just going to copy all the text instead of coming back and forth, and I'm going to paste it right here. So I'm going to cut this, Ctrl X. Okay, so I'm going to create a new li with an anchor tag, and this isn't going to be going anywhere, and I'm going to paste live news. Lastly, I'm going to cut this again and close this up properly, then create a new li with an anchor tag, paste. Okay, so now we can actually copy this, and I think we had like 5 different, let's check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you're going to duplicate this 4 times, so copy and paste, 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 and paste. This says, the second one says TV shows. So this should be TV shows, and I think this is movies. The next one says originals, if I'm not mistaken. I think the next one also says network. And this should be for kids. And lastly, I'm going to create a new li, and I think this says FX on Hulu, if I'm not mistaken. So save this, and I'm just going to copy this other text right here. So copy this. So I'm going to scroll down a bit and paste what we just copied right here. So this is Disney Bundle, HBO Max, Cinema, Showtime, and Stars. So paste right here. Disney Bundle. Next is HBO Max. I think the next also is Cinemax. I think we also have Showtime. And lastly, I think we have something saying Stars. Okay, so now the next one is going to be the help. I'm just going to check what we have here. So we have help, account and billing, plans and pricing, supported devices, accessibility. So the next one is going to be account and billing, and billing. What is this? And button, account and okay, fine, I've seen it. Account and billing. And the next one says plan and pricing. I think plans and pricing. Next one should be supported devices and accessibility. Okay, so lastly we have about, and this should be press. This should be jobs, and the last one should be contacts. Okay, so now we're finally done with this and we can move on. I think the next thing we have to design is the line. I think there's a line under. I'm just going to check real quick. So we have a line right here, a line dividing this section from this section. Okay, so I'm just going to go right below this and create a div called divider. Okay, and lastly we are going to create a div for the social icons. So social icons, and we're going to have our anchor tags, there's going to be img. I'm going to get the images. It should be facebook.svg. So I'm just going to duplicate this 3 times. So paste, paste, and paste. This should be twitter.svg. This should be youtube.svg, and lastly this should be instagram.svg. So yeah, so we're done with that, and we just want to style this real quick. Okay, so let's scroll down here and create a comment. There should be footer. And first thing we're going to do is to grab the class itself, footer, and give this a white background. That should be #EBEDF2, and this is going to have a color of let's say #333. So I don't just know these colors by heart. You can actually check for the colors on the when you inspect the original websites. You can check the colors. So I just wrote them down somewhere. So next one we're going to grab is the anchor tags, and we're just going to give this a color of gray, light gray. And next one we want to grab is the footer container, or the footer container, or the footer content rather. So I'm just going to paste this right here and give this a maximum width of 1100 pixels. Let's set the margin of this to auto and give this a padding of 40 pixels. Okay, so now the next one we're going to grab is the list, the footer list. So I'm just going to copy the class and I'm going to paste right here, and I'm going to set the display of this to flex and justify content space between. So save. Okay, so now the next one we're going to do is to select the list head. So I'm just going to go over here and copy this class. And I'm going to say footer lists, and I'm going to grab the list head. Just going to paste it, and yeah, we want to set the text transform to uppercase. Let's make this bold. So we're going to set the font width of this to be bold. Let's give this a margin bottom. Let's give this a margin bottom of 5 pixels. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to work on is the line dividing it. That's a divider line. So I'm just going to copy this. And I'm going to paste right here, and I'm going to give this a width of 100%. It's going to have a height of just 3 pixels, and I'm going to give this a border top of, let's say, 1 pixel, HCCC, which is kind of like light gray solid. And I'm just going to give this a margin of 30 pixels by 0 pixel. Next thing we want to work on is the social icons and the images. So go over here, say social icons, and we want to grab the images in it. and we're going to set the width of this to 25 pixels. Also going to have a height of 25 pixels and a margin right of 25 pixels also. So save this and let's just check what we have on our browser. So you can see we have it looking nice. You can see the hover effect, everything looks nice. So the next thing we're going to work on is this login button right here. So we want this to pop up, and we can only do this with JavaScript. Yeah, we're going to use JavaScript for this. So yeah, so now we have to create the form. And we're going to use JavaScript to enable a pop-up. So in the form we just have the email input and the password input, and we have a simple login button and some text under. So now let's quickly create this, then make it all responsive. So head over to your HTML, and we're just going to give this a class of modal pop-up. Just save, and yeah, we're just going to create the form. So we're going to give this a div, and we're going to set a class of pop-up form, and we're going to give this a div again of we're going to set the class of this to pop-up box, and over here we're going to have a div with a class of pop-up body, and we're going to have a h3 right here saying login. So now the next thing we're going to do is to create a form. So create your form tag. And we're just going to get rid of the action because this is not needed for this tutorial. So we're going to create a div with the class of form control, and here we're going to have a label for the email, and over here it's going to say email. And next thing we're going to do is to create an input, and this is going to have a type of email and an ID of email also. Let's close this up, and so I'm just going to duplicate this rather, copy and paste right here, and this is going to be for the password. I'm just going to change the label of this to password, and this is going to have a type of password and an ID of password. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is to create the text and the button. So over here we can create a paragraph, and we're going to have the text right here in an anchor tag, and I'm just going to copy what we have in the original project. So it says don't have an account, start your free trial. So I'm going to paste it right here. Okay, I'm just going to wrap this in a div. I feel it's better we wrap it in a div, or okay, no. So let's analyze this properly. There should be okay. So this shouldn't be for this. It should be saying forgot your email or password. So save, and we're going to create a button just underneath. So say button, and this is going to have a class of btn dark, and this is going to say login. Okay, so let's just go right here, and now we can create a div for this text. So I'm just going to copy this again, and we're going to create a div saying pop up footer, and I'm going to create a paragraph tag, and where it says don't have an account, we're going to have question mark, and where it says start your free trial is going to be an anchor tag. So I'm just going to move this text into the anchor tag and put the hash here because we don't want it to go anywhere. And lastly, I'm going to have the image here for the close button. So we're going to say img, and the name of this image should be close.svg, and we're going to give this a class of close. So save this, and yeah, that should be all. So let's go to our CSS and style this. So we'll just comment this out to say modal pop up form. Okay, so first thing we're going to grab is the modal, the pop-up itself, pop-up form itself. So copy this, and I'm going to paste just right here, and I'm going to give this a display of none, or let's leave the display first, because we're going to set the display to none later because of the JavaScript. So set the position of this, so not static, fixed, and let's give this a top of 0. The left also should be 0, z index of 1. Let's give this a height of, no, the height should be 100%, and this should have a width of 100% also, and the background of this is going to be RGBA 0,0,0.5. So now the next thing we're going to grab is the pop-up box. So I'm just going to copy this and paste right here. And I'm going to set the margin. I'm just going to give this a margin of, let's say, 10% auto. I'm going to give this a width of, let's say, 400 pixels. Let's set the background of this to white. The color of this, the text color of this should be light gray. Let's give this a position of relative. Lest I forget, we're going to add an animation to this. Modal, let's say pop up. Yeah, so we want an animation to occur so that when we click the login button, it's going to appear gently. So let's start the animation. So at keyframes, I'm going to select the name of the animation, which is pop-up, and I'm going to say from and we're going to set the opacity of this to 0. From the beginning, it's going to have an opacity of 0 to an opacity of 1. So now the next one we're going to grab is the pop-up body. So I'm just going to copy this class and paste it in the CSS just right here. And this is going to just get a padding of 50 pixels. And next thing I want to do is to grab the H3. So you say pop-up body H3, and I'm just going to make this bold, so font width of this should be bold. I just see what we have done. Okay, so not so shabby at all. So when we're done, we're going to see the final results. So now the next one we're going to grab is the button itself. So pop-up body .btn. This is going to have a width of 100% and a margin top of 30 pixels. And remember that we gave the button a class of btn dark, so we're going to start with btn dark in the main the general CSS styles, where we have the general CSS styles. Okay, so now next one we're going to grab is the pop-up form, and we're going to grab the close tag or the close button or the close image, yes, and we're going to set the cursor of this to pointer. I'm going to give this a height of 23 pixels, also a width of 23 pixels. We also have a position of absolute. Let's give this a border top of -EEE 1 pixel solid, and we're going to align the text to the center. Save. No, there's no text for us to align, so that was a mistake. I'm going to give this a top of 20 pixels and a right of 20 pixels. Okay, so let's see what we have. So now I think the next thing we have to do is to work on this logo and the form itself. So let's grab the form. Yeah, the name of the form is form control. Let's just compare. I just want to compare this. So the button is actually dark. Okay, color of this button is darker, and the color of this login text is black also. So okay, let's just move on. We're going to work on this. So go over here, before the button. After the animation, yeah. So we're going to grab the form control, and I'm going to give this a margin of 20 pixels by 0 pixel. Next I want to grab is the label. And we're going to give this a display of block, and we want to make this uppercase, so say text transform uppercase. Next one we want to grab is the input tag, and we're going to set the width of this to 100%. We're going to give this a border, of 2 pixel #CCC light gray solid, and this is going to have a border radius of, let's say, 5 pixels. This is going to have height of 50 pixels and padding of 5 pixels. So save this and let's see. Okay, so now the text is the text color is somehow, I won't lie. So I'm just going to check this real quick. So okay, so I think the problem will be probably we have a general color or something. Like let's check. We should have a general. Okay, here it is. So we set the general color for the text to be #CCC. So this should be #333, and that should fix the error we're having. Okay. So now the next thing to do is to style this button right here and this text. So I'm just going to style that real quick. So I said the BTN dark is going to be amongst the general styles we have. Okay, so here. So I'm just going to copy the class of the button class. So copy this, and I'm going to paste it right here. Okay, so I'm going to start this button real quick. We're just going to assign a background to this of #000, and the text color is going to be #FFF. So save this, and okay. So now the next thing to do is to style this real quick. So I'm just going to scroll down. Okay, so I think here we gave it pop-up footer, so I'm just going to copy this class and I'm going to paste right here. Okay, so I'm going to assign a background to this of #F7, and I'm going to change the color of this. So okay, this is going to have a color of #333, and let's give this a padding of 23 pixels by 0 pixels, so let's say 20 by 0, and I'm just going to give this a border top, of #EEE 1 pixel solid, and I'm going to align the text to the center. So say text align center. Now the last thing we're going to do is to style the anchor tag. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it right here. and the color of the anchor tag, I think, is still blue. Okay, so I think that should be, yeah. Don't have an account. Start your free trial. I don't think that should be on hover. So I'm just going to check what we have to do or what we've done wrong. Okay, yes, so fixed it. Now the next thing to do is actually to make this pop-up work. So remember I said we're going to set the display of this to none. So set the display to none. And I'm actually going to delete this comment. So head over to your JavaScript, and okay, now you want to make sure you link your HTML to your JavaScript. Never forget to link that. So we're going to say script source is going to be main.js. So I'm going to create some variables. So say const pop-up equals document dot query selector, and we're going to grab the pop-up class. So make sure you copy this carefully. You don't want to make any mistake while writing JavaScript code, because one mistake can actually ruin your whole code and you're trying to debug something actually easy. So we're going to create another constant or another variable as you may have it, and this is going to be for the login button. It's equal to document dot query selector, and this is going to be for the login button. So I'm just going to copy the button class. I don't think we gave it. Let's see. I think we need to give the class of login button. Okay, yes. So not the login button is actually going to be the login button we have on top, which is this. So I'm just going to copy this login button class and I'm going to paste it right here. And lastly, I'm going to create a variable for the close button. Close button equals document dot query selector, and I'm going to grab the close button. So I'm just going to scroll down right here and copy this class close and paste this. Okay, so now for the login button, we're going to add an event listener. So say login btn dot add event listener, and we want an action to happen on click. So when we click this login button, we want something to happen. So let's say open modal, and for the close button, I'm also going to add an event listener, and on click we want this to close the modal. So say close modal. So save this and lastly on refresh, so say window dot add event listener, click outside click. So when you click outside the excuse me, when you click outside the windows, let me just show you an example. So when you click outside like this, you want the button to you want this form to disappear. So you want when you click outside the form, you want the form to disappear. So that's what that function is doing, this function right here. So now let's define each of them. So say function open modal, and this is going to say pop-up dot style dot display equals block. So now pop-up is going to have a display of block, not none. You know, we set the display of the pop-up to be none in our CSS. So now with our JavaScript, we're going to set this to block when it's being clicked. And for this is a function. I forgot to put the bracket in front. For the close modal, on say modal or pop-up dot style dot display equals none. And lastly, when you click outside the form, so say function outside click so you say if e.target equals modal equals pop-up, I'm gonna say modal equals pop-up, then close modal should be enabled. So save this and let's see if this would actually work. Okay, so when you click login, okay, so now as usual there is an issue. So we're going to inspect this. So go to your console and it says there's an error on line 17. So what's the error? Okay, so I think I'm just going to copy this function right here, and I'm going to paste it right here, and this is going to say the outside click. Only this time I'm going to type it myself. Right here we're going to have E, so to catch any errors, and we say if e.target equals modal or equals pop-up, then we should close modal. Okay, so now no errors, so let's just check. Okay, now remember that these are classes, so we want to put the dots in front. So now you can save this and hopefully we shouldn't have any errors. Okay, so when we click login, so you can see the pop-up form, and when we close this, you can see it closes back. And when we also click outside the form, you can see it closes. So now the next thing we're going to work on now is the responsiveness, and then we can host this website. So now go to your CSS. Okay. And right here we're just going to create we're just going to comment this out and say media query, media queries, and we're going to say here add media, and we want the max width of this to be 1100 pixels. And we're going to say, we're going to grab the categories, and to be precise, we're going to select the covers. And we want this to be 2 by 2, so I'll say grid template columns, and this is going to be 1 FR 1 FR. So save that. And now for smaller screens, so say add media max width of, let's say, 768 pixels. First thing we want to grab is the logo, so say that's header dot logo, and we want the width of this to reduce, so we're going to set this to 200 pixels. Now the next thing we're going to grab is the header contents, so say header dot header content, and we're going to set the text align of this, so center, and we're also going to give this some padding of 0 to 20 pixels. So go back here, and I'm just going to inspect this so we can actually see what else we need to do. So I'm going to set this to responsive, and we're currently on 763, 768. Okay. Okay, so now you can see how it's almost responsive, but we still need to work on some things such as this footer and many more. So we still need to work on some things. So go over here, and next thing we want to grab is the header text. Header text 1, and we want to give this a margin bottom of 40 pixels. So save this, and next thing we want to grab is the header text 2, and we want to completely remove this. So we're going to set the display of this to none. Okay, so now the next one we're going to grab is the subheader, and we're going to set this to grid template columns, and we want this to be 1 FR, and we're going to align the text to the center and give this a gap of 20 pixels. Now next thing we're going to work on is the subheader image, so say subheader img, and we're going to give this a width of 250 pixels, and we're going to set the margin of this to auto. Let's say margin auto. Okay, So now the next thing we're going to do is to select all the divs, the div with the last of type. Okay, so say sub header div of the last type, and we want to justify self to the center and also align items to the center. Now we want to select the large text, so that's text XL, and we're going to reduce the font size of this to 40 pixels and give this a line height of 1.3. So save this. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is to grab the sub text, and we're going to reduce the font size of this to 20 pixels. Now we're going to work on the covers, so let's just see what we have. Okay, so now you can see the text has been reduced, the font size has been reduced. Okay, so now we're going to work on the categories covers, and we're going to give this some padding of 30 pixels by 10 pixels. Now the next thing we're going to work on is the live sports, and I'm going to set the background of this. Here we are, and this is going to be live sports small.jpg, no repeat, center cover. Okay, so now we're almost done. So now the next thing we're going to work on is the live sports content, and we're going to give this a top of 30 pixels. Let's give this a left of 30 pixels. Let's give this a margin top of 60 pixels. So save, and let's see what we have. Okay, so you can see we have a better image. There was a screen right here before, where it has moved to this side. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to work on is the footer list. So say footer list, and it's going to have a flex direction of column, and we're going to select the pop-up form, and we're going to select the pop-up box. I'm going to give this a width of 350 pixels, and that should be all. Okay, so now if we set this to Galaxy, just that this part doesn't really look so nice. Let's just check with what we have here and inspect this. Okay, so over here you can see, okay, the text looks better right here. So let's just see the mistake I might have made. Okay, so let's, I think we didn't style that light border, so I'm just going to cancel this This style should be for the light border, if I'm not mistaken. Light border. And for the categories, the covers categories, so select the categories and dot covers. We're going to set the grid template column of this to 1 FR. So save this, and I think that should fix the error. We're having. So yeah, so now it's completely responsive. And now the next thing we're going to do is to host this using Netlify. Okay, so I'm just going to close this up, and I'm going to head over to my files. Okay, so now you can actually make this better. You can put all the images in a folder, but just remember that if you're putting all the images in a folder, you have to link them properly in your code. So that being said, let's head over to Netlify. So head over to netlify.com and make sure you create an account netlify.com, so you'll be able to host your websites for free. They have free hosting rather. So I'm just going to log in real quick and I'll be right back with you. So we're back on Netlify, and okay, so you can see some of the projects I've hosted here, and this is the Udemy course, the project you'll be building in the course. So if you would like to get the course, make sure you check the link in the description. So I'm just going to add a new site, and I'm going to deploy manually. So you can, it says drag and drop your site. Okay, so I'm going to head over to my files, and I'm just going to drag. The name of the file is Hulu, so I'm just going to drag this to this section right here. So whenever you want to host anything, always make sure your home page is index.html. Always, never forget this. Your homepage should always be index.html. Okay, so now it has been deployed, and next thing we want to do is to change the domain name, because we don't want to have this domain name is too long. So you can add custom domain or just edit the site name, and we're just going to change this to Hulu 2.0 or Hulu 2. So save this, and okay, it says the name has been taken. Let's say Hulu clone. Its name has also been taken. Hulu -2 clone. Name has also been taken. Let's just say movie sites. This name has also, wow. Okay, so let's just look for, you can come up with something creative. So save this, and hopefully this name hasn't been taken. Okay, so now when you click the link, you should be able to see what we just made, and you can share this project with your friends or anyone. And yeah, so that's it. We built the project from scratch, made it completely responsive, and we also hosted this project completely for free using Netlify. So that'll be all for this tutorial, guys. So if you did enjoy this video, make sure you drop a like, and also smash the subscribe button. And yeah, that'll be all for this video. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye for now. And also, if you'd like to get the source code, the link is going to be in the description below. The link is going to be in the description for you, so you can get the images and all other things you might need for my GitHub repository. So that'll be all for this video, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.